pitch deck, which is very, very important. I just want to make sure that you guys understand what the pitch deck is at a very high level, and we'll look through some examples. Very, very critical. And then I also wanted, if we don't have time today, in our next session, what we will do is we will try to learn from the point of view of, you know, how to create a business deck and all those kind of things, right? So now we need to kind of understand a little bit about what are all different types of funding rounds. You know, how do you define that, right? There is a funding rounds called seed, series A, B, and C. You know, these are the names that are used for funding rounds, right? So we need to understand what are those. It's a little bit critical as well. So the pitch deck and different funding rounds understanding is important from the point of view of understanding and being an entrepreneur, right? So that's what we really are going to learn today. So let's get started. We have everyone in our team. Both the teams are there. This is really good. I see someone new joined. Sashi.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Sashi. Yeah.
This is your first session?
I'm a tester, manual tester.
Understood. Is this your first session in Testoper projects?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So just to give you the perspective, this particular program, we are almost towards the end, right? We already had like 35, almost like 20 to 25 sessions, and we are in our final session right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but it will be an independent session, pitch deck, but you can always listen in and happy to you to be there to learn. Okay.
Oh, okay, sure.
We probably have another 3 sessions max, including today, to close this projects, right? And then we will give some time for the team, and then we'll have a pitch deck towards the end. Okay, good. So let's get started. Let me open the presentation. Is this the first? I mean, have you heard about the Testoper before, Sashi, or is this the first time that you heard of?
I have heard, yeah.
Have you attended some of the programs?
I have attended the automation testing program one already. Okay. I think few weeks before.
Awesome, good. So one of the things that I wanted to really, before we start our today's session, I wanted to tell you all is that September 18th is a very important event for Testoper. It's a big program that we normally do, the meetup. This time it's obviously going to be the virtual, and we are also doing for the first time telecom event. So if you have not registered for it, at least for supporting our community, I kindly recommend you register it and join the session. If you can, right? This is on September 18th, morning 10 a.m. I would really appreciate you guys joining. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And then the second thing is, let's go to our presentation. Okay. Just give it a second. Okay. All right. So just to give you the summary, we went through already this foundational elements. That's the chapter number 1. We learned everything about personal abilities, making the market your primary focus, skills and tools frameworks. We learned that. Then we jumped into our second chapter, which is which is where is it? Yeah, the second chapter, which is our product and its life cycle. So we went through that and we learned from the concept to the strategic and practical management. That's our second chapter. We completed on that. And now we are in our third chapter, which is entrepreneurship from idea to IPO. That's going to be our third and final chapter. And the fourth chapter is basically practicals, right? You guys have formed 2 teams. You will go back and you do something, and then we will nominate a day where we will come together and you guys will pitch. And I wanted to make that like a good celebration. In fact, I wanted to do it in person because of COVID, it may not be possible, but we will see what we can do. I wanted to really do this sometime in November timeframe. If I actually look at it, let's see, maybe we can plan that for today. So this Testoper projects, if I go in here, so we are today on 10th September, right? Supposed to end on 26th November, right? So that's good. So we'll probably try to complete our chapter 3 by 24th September. Then you will be given some time from October to November, and then probably you can come back on 26th November to do your pitch, and then we will close by, let's see, by 26th November, if things open up, we will plan for an in-person final day pitch from both the teams. And in case if the COVID is not there, we will try to do this online, and we'll probably order some food at home, and we'll have some fun together, right? So that's the plan. I'll try my best to see if I'm able to complete all I wanted to let you guys know by 24th, or worst case by 1st October. And then we will have a gap so that you can prepare yourself to create demos or whatever that pitch deck, whatever that you wanted to do, and then you will come back and you will do your pitch on February, 26th of November. So that's going to be the plan. Does that sound good, Greg and the team, everyone? All good?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Perfect. So now let's jump into the discussion, right? Entrepreneurship from idea to IPO. We talked about the most important thing, which is mission, vision, values, and MTP. And then we talked about the second most important thing, which is the pitch deck, right? And what we will do today is we will go through and understand we'll go through in practice different pitch decks and understand how different people are trying to position their product. That's the idea of today's session. So at a very high level, what is a pitch deck? Pitch deck is all about making sure that you are telling the story and building the excitement so that the investors can give you the money for your startup, right? So that you can run your startup. That's pretty much it is. And there are certain key pointers that we learned in our past session you should consider to articulate the story in a nicer way, smarter way, so you can attract the investors. And what are all the different things that you can put it in the pitch deck or here, right? Vision and value proposition. We know what it is. We know what the problem that we are trying to solve, right? And if you try to solve that problem, what kind of a target market and opportunity that problem has if you find a solution, right? And what is your actual solution? And how are you going to really make money out of that? How are you going to really sell that, right? Make money out of that. How are you going to go to the market? What is your market and sales strategy? We kind of talked about it in the past, right? In the previous session. And who are your teams? Very, very important, right? If you have a weak team, investor will not be happy to invest money. And what are your financials? Like in 3 years, how much you are asking from the investor? Where are you going to invest? And how are you going to spend all the money? And when are you going to start making money? And how are you going to break even your investment time and then start making money? So that's what you need to really help them to understand. Even you can help them to understand not only the money that you're getting from them, but you can even help them to understand after you get money from them, how you are going to spend it, when you are going to start making money. Then again, you can basically say, I want more money from the next one, next round, and then I will spend, and then at some time. So that's how it works, right? So if you are able to give a longer visibility to the investor, the happier they are to invest fund on you. Then finally, you can, some of the investors, depending, they are very, very picky about, okay, I'm investing money now. In 5 years, I want to make 3 times of the money that I'm investing now, right? Some investors will be very happy to hear from you the exit strategy. So you should also kind of consider that. And some investors are very smart, right? They know that everything cannot be done by one team, and you need partnerships, right? So you can also kind of, depending upon the investors, you can show. And some people really like to see the product working, and some investors like to invest only if you already have a customer traction. Otherwise, they don't like to invest more money. Or even if they invested, they would like to get more share of the company, right? So there's multiple things that you need to maneuver and learn and understand, right? Before you present the pitch deck to your investors. So that's the pitch deck all about. And what we are going to do now is we're going to review some example pitch decks that are out there. Okay. Let's see. So last time I requested you all to make a note of which pitch deck are we going to review together. So what is the first one that we are going to review together?
Dropbox.
Dropbox. Okay. You know, there is, you know, let me do this. Okay. There's a good article that is available for you to kind of understand the different types of funding. You know, before I like to go through this, I wanted to go through that so you can understand, right? Because there are different rounds of funding, and depending upon different rounds of funding, your pitch deck also has to change. Okay, so let me find that nice article that you should, and maybe we can, you know, learn through that together. Just give me a second. Let me find that here. This is nice, nice. Yeah, this one, startup funding. This is the one. Yeah. Okay, good. So can you see my screen still? Can you all see my screen? Okay. Let me copy this in our slide also, right? Just a little bit change in plan, but I think it's important that you guys know. It's a good article. I will run this through with you guys, right? So then it would kind of connect you guys when you are seeing through the pitch as well, right? This is a little bit important to know. So let's review that that article. So if you look at this, startup funding rounds. So when you are a startup, you need money to run, right? It's like this. When you're running your family, every month you require an income to run your family. So likewise, you know, there's some point of time you need additional money that you require to run your business. So those are nothing but called funding rounds, right? And normally the funding rounds, typically, you know, these are the names that are used: seed, series A, B, and C, right? So this is what kind of explained in this article, but it's nicely explained. So, you know, if you look at the way that Ashish Pawar, you know, he's trying to explain here is, it's like, you know, the one that I like from him is that if the venture must be undertaken by a new farmer, he would require external funding too. Why? Get a seed, right? To farm, he has to get a seed and test it before sowing, and get the land ready and sow it, nurture the sapling and nurture the plant, right? So the way that he explains it is, you know, Ashish wants us to kind of convert this into the process from the startup perspective. That becomes your startup fund round, right? So get the seed. In order for you to get the seed and test it before sowing, you need pre-seed funding round. Okay. Then if you want to get a land ready and sow it, you need seeding funding round. Then if you nurture the sapling, you need series A and series B. Nurture the plant, you need series C. You know, it's just a theory, but of course, you know, it's one of the interesting way of explaining it. But the bottom line is, what you need to remember is, he's trying to explain us 4 types of pre-seed funding round. Sorry, 4 types of startup funding round, right? Pre-seed, seed, series A and series B and series C. That's what it is, right? But again, we'll look into what these means, okay? But the most important thing here is to understand some of the definitions. And these are the definitions that you need to understand. Let's read through this and kind of understand some of these definitions, okay? So equity. So these are all definitions that we have not learned in our last 2 sessions, right? These are all some of the definitions you might already know, but the point of entrepreneurship, you need to know some of these definitions, okay? So let's go through this. First one is an equity. Equity is nothing but ownership. The amount of ownership that you have in the business is nothing but the equity. Is the degree of the ownership in the business, right? Like, for example, you can say, hey, Greg, how much business you own? How much percentage of the business you own? Hey, I own, I have like I own 30% of the business. So basically it means I own 30% of the equity, right? So that's what the equity means. The next one is the ticket size. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. It's the amount that you put it out of your own pocket, right? Or it's the amount that you invested in a business. So any business you start, some amount you would be investing in the business, right? So sometimes if you see a word called ticket size, that's what it means. The third one is the angel investor. So angel by name, right? He's an angel who is trying to give you the first life, right? As an entrepreneur, someone who is trying to give you the first life is an angel investor. And he is nothing but an individual who provides money to the smart startups and entrepreneurs. Okay. But when does he provide money? Does he provide money in pre-seed, seed, series A, series B? We will see that afterwards. But remember, venture angel investor is someone who can provide money to the startups and the entrepreneurs. Venture capitalists are very, very professional investors. Normally, it's a big company, right? Venture capitalist firms are not individuals, right? Angel investors can also work in some angel firm and then they can combinedly invest it. But angel investor, if you are an angel investor, you can decide to invest directly into a startup as well without you being in any firm. But venture capitalists mostly, they are within the firm. Why? Because they normally fund a big dollars, right? They also fund the startups and big businesses that has a good high growth potential, and in either case, right, they would want some kind of an equity from you, some kind of ownership in the company from you, right? Otherwise nobody wants to give you the money. They would like to really have some kind of an ownership. The next one is equity financing. This is a different word, right? It is basically you can raise money by selling the ownership. Now you might ask me, I mean, okay, even in the angel investor, I'm trying to give the stake, and then venture capitalist also, I'm trying to give them the stake. How is it different from this? It's just the terms that are used, right? Equity financing is you can directly go and tell, hey, my company is growing really well and it is making $100,000 a month, and I would like to give you 10% of it, and I need 3 times of money that I wanted to use to, you can directly talk something like that, right? So it's a different words that that are used. I just wanted you to know. Debt financing is about raising funds by selling the debt instruments to investors. So it's like, I mean, you're basically, when you go and buy a loan, right? You ask a home loan, right? You just go and, what's your debt, right? The money that you take a loan is your debt, and you pay principal and also you pay the interest on the debt. That's what is called as debt financing. And in angel and venture capitalists and all, you don't pay interest to them, right? And even in the equity financing, I don't think you pay interest. But again, it depends case by case. But debt financing is like taking a loan and you would pay back principal as well as you pay back the the interest. That's what the debt financing is all about. Convertible note, it's another way of doing it. It's also kind of, it's like a paper that has some value. It's a short-term debt, mostly in a shorter term that you do this, right? Let me read this out. A short-term debt that converts into equity at later date after a conversion event occurs, and startup is matured enough to be valued. So this is what the convertible note. It's like a conditional way of generating the money, right? And then you put some condition there and say, okay, at this point of time, this can be converted into this percentage of equity if we reach this kind of valuation of our company. The next thing you need to understand is what is the valuation of the company. Every company has a valuation, right? Okay, this company is worth $1 million. This company is worth $10 billion. This company is worth $50 billion. So that's called as the valuation. And then you can just have some agreements for the future equity. Okay, you help me today for free, and then I'll give you the equity in future. or or you help me with A, B, C, D, E, and I'll give you some in the future, right? So the reason that I want to make sure that you understand these definitions is these are some of the definitions that will come back again and again to you, right? In future, if you become an entrepreneur, equity, ticket size, the amount that you invest in the initial time, angel investor, venture capitalist, debt financing, equity financing, convertible note, and simple agreement for future equity. These are all some of the terms that it's advisable that you know. Now let's look at what is pre-seed funding round. And the pre-seed is like the startup is in a very, very, very preliminary stage. Nascent is the right word to use. It's just getting off the road. You have an idea, you found a market opportunity, and you don't have any customer at all. And all you're trying to do is you wanted to test products and you wanted to validate all the assumptions, like that we talked about, right? Idea phase, whatever that we learned. And normally in this pre-seed stage, if your idea is liked by someone, right, they would normally try to invest somewhere around 50,000 to 200,000. And normal equity they would like to get from you is 5% to 10% of your company ownership. So that's what happens during the pre-seed funding round. So you got to kind of understand if an investor is trying, if your idea is really good and it has a value, and if the investor is coming and trying to invest 50,000 to 200,000, and if he asks like 30% of your company stake, then maybe you got to be a little bit careful, right, with that investor. So these are all some of the standard stuff during the pre-seed funding. Let's say if I wanted to come and invest in your money, right, and I would probably, it would be probably fair for me to really ask 5 to 10% of the equity. So at this stage, basically you have an idea and you wanted to actually trying to convert that idea into the actual business. That's what it is. It's the concept phase that we learned in our product management life cycle. Okay. There's some background noise. I don't know from whom it is coming though. I think it's coming from Bryce. Bryce, are you asking me some question here? Okay, I'm going to mute Bryce for now. Okay. Right. So the startup is at a nascent stage, no real customer traction, and the entrepreneur is trying to convert the idea into the actual business. In order for him to turn this into an actual business, he has to do lots of testing. He has to find out what kind of a solution that he wants to provide for the problem that he's identified. And is the customer going to pay money? What kind of he has to develop his business model and a lot of different things that he has to do. So this funding, whatever the pre-seed funding round is actually used to do that. That's what it is, right? Pre-seed funding, also called pre-seed capital or pre-seed money, is a small investment offered by an investor. And normally it happens in return of equity or debt and interest repayments. Depends on how you wanted to sign an agreement with that particular person. So you normally use as an entrepreneur, right, to do these 5 steps: validate the problem solution fit, get some real customer traction, develop the minimum viable product, get key employees and partners onboarded, get the business started, and begin operations. That's what the pre-seed funding money, whatever that you get, you would try to do. But it's very, very difficult to get get someone to really invest on something for which you just have a idea, right? And you still haven't validated and things like that. So it's very difficult. The pre-seed funding round is a very, very difficult funding round to really raise the money. Okay, so if you look at some of the sources of the pre-seed funding round, right, you can actually see that debt financing, right, that I talked about. Take a personal loan from your bank, right, and then use that money to do your initial company, right? But yes, if you don't become successful, that money is gone. Got to be really, very careful, right? And that's just because the pre-seed, you still have not validated the idea, your product is not there, MVP product is not there. It's kind of really difficult for any investors to pay money. You got to most of the time figure out how to get that 50,000 to 200,000 money by yourself, depending upon what you're trying to do. The other way that you can do is you can go and join hackathons. We talked about hackathons. What is an hackathon in our previous session? Go to those hackathons, pitch, and try to get some money, and you reinvest that money, and then try to get your company off the ground. Right? So that would be another. Maybe when you're doing a pitch, some investors might like your idea, and maybe they would like to engage with you and help you. And the third thing is the startup incubators. We talked about this, incubators, right? Incubators and accelerators. This is an organization. It could be run by the private people or by the government people. They basically try to develop and help startups, right? So you got to sign up with them, you got to commit to them number of hours, and you got to work with them, and they will help you to do things to get you off the ground. And they may help you financially as well, and they may not, it depends. They may just do an in-kind training and give you the space to come and work, blah, blah, blah. Or some incubators may give you some money, or if they don't give money, again, you need to figure out your initial pre-seed fund. If they give money, obviously they try to take some kind of equity from you, or maybe they will try to do it like a debt, right? Principal and interest payment kind of a thing. The next a very, very important thing but it's a very complex and competitive thing as well, right? You can apply for the government grants and business grants. And depending upon your country, there are a number of government grants and business grants that are available. You got to do a lot of research to learn that. What kind of grants are available? What can you do to really pitch and get the money? But this is again a source of the source for you to get the money. Then peer-to-peer lending, like for example, I can give you money, you can give me money. And there are different platforms that are available to get loans from several individuals, lenders. You can just Google it, right? And obviously you will end up paying the commissions in between and so on. But that's another way of getting the money. And then you can go to the angel investors. So there are angel investors who does only the seed funding, and exceptionally there are some angel investors like to help the entrepreneurs with the pre-seed funding as well. So you have to look at and search pre-seed angel investors or pre-seed angel investment companies, and probably you need to approach them. And there are some venture capitalists also do the pre-seed, right? So but very rare, but it's very, very tough, right, to get a pre-seed from angel and venture capitalists. But the top 5 thing you can probably try, right, which is within your control. And you can also try the other 2. You never know. If you're lucky, you get a right person, right angel investor, or the right venture capitalist from who likes your idea and wanted to fund you to see it happening. You never know. But what's more important here is whatever the way that you're going to generate the revenue, just make sure when you're doing a pre-seed round, right, you don't give away more than 5 to 10% of your equity stake. This is very, very important. Okay. So that's your pre-seed. The next one is your seed funding round. What is seed funding round? It's same thing. Like, when you go through this, it will be very easy for you to understand. Why? Because we already have gone through the product management life cycle, right? You would understand all these terms, right? Idea is converted into a business. You know what it is. And you have employees available. Partners are available for you to support you. And you already started, customers have started using your product. And your product development is still there, but you have something that customer is already using it. And here you can raise a fund like 100,000 to 6%. And normally in the seed funding round, it's not mentioned here, but based on my experience, I can tell you somewhere between 0 to 30% is where you would probably give away, right? But in some cases you will give away more, in some cases you will give away less, but at a very high level, somewhere between 0 to 30% is what that you give away to other people. But if someone is giving you lots of money, like millions and millions, then probably you would end up in giving a little bit more, but keep that the range, understanding 10 to 30% or max 40% during the seed funding round. So what do you do what is seed funding? It's a seed money, right? To for the farmer to buy the seed, right? It's a seed money. It's a very small investment from the investors. You might say, hey, you're saying small money, but some companies have got $6 million. That's not small money. Yeah, you're right. But there are certain certain ideas that require, even in the seed round, big amount of money. Like if you are building just a web app, if you go and ask $1 million, nobody is going to give you. But if you're going to design a satellite, low orbit satellite, that you're going to deploy it in the space for a particular use case to solve, then you would probably get $6 million seed funding round, right? So it totally depends on your idea. Some ideas really cost a lot of money to even think of building a MVP and even building a product that the customer can start consuming. So that's why you see that big difference, right? So the seed funding is all about capital considered as a small investment by the investor, normally in return for equity or debt and interest repayment, to a startup owner for fulfilling its initial growth. Why initial growth? Because you already have a customer traction. You need to continue building the product and provide additional features so you can keep the customer intact with you. And you can grow your customer base. That is why it is called as seed funding. So from the startup world point of view, right, this is the first official money that you have raised for your startup, right? Pre-seed funding and all is not considered as an official one, right? But sometimes it is when the angel investors and venture capitalists are giving you money. But theoretically, in the startup world, this is the first official money that you have raised, and your company valuation, right, will depend on the money that you have raised. If you have raised $100,000, that means your company today is valued for 100,000 and more, right? There are different ways that the company valuation is done. So that's what the seed funding is all about. And what you do getting the seed funding, you take care of your employees and you try to add additional features in your product, and you try to get more customers and try to penetrate into more market, and you grow the team and you grow your customer base. That's what you're going to do during the seed funding. Most of the time, the seed funding is invested by the angels, right? But still, there are other ways to raise the seed funding as well, right? Most of the startups raise the seed fund through angels. Angels are the individuals, or sometimes the angel also has the firm, right? And you have multiple angels within that firm. So outside of the angel investor, you can also try to generate revenue through some other sources. Crowdfunding is one good source, right? There's so many crowdfunding platforms. You should go and look it up. Just Google crowdfunding. You'll find so many crowdfunding platforms, and you can go and put your ideas, and you can tell if the people, whoever is going to give you the money, you're going to give them in return after the product is built for their consumption, etc., etc., etc. Or you can come up with some other lucrative ideas to get the money through the crowdfunding. And then corporate seed funds. Like you can go to the big companies like Google, Apple, and so on, and you can present the idea. And a lot of big companies have their own, the small startup investment funds. They encourage a lot of startups. Like you go to the Rogers, they have a group where they encourage a lot of startups who are trying to solve problems in telecom. You go to banks like TD, or you go to RBC. There's a lot of there's an investment fund, a startup ecosystem within their company, which helps the entrepreneurs who are trying to solve problems in banking industry. So that's called as the corporate seed funds. Accelerators, right? So if you think about it, last week we talked about difference between incubators and accelerators at a very high level. Incubators were normally in the where is it? In the pre-seed funding. I think we saw incubators, right? Startup incubators in the pre-seed funding, right? And accelerators is normally you're when you're getting a seed fund, you're accelerating your operations, right? So accelerators are used, the word that is used during the seed funding. So there's again, accelerators is nothing but a firm, right? Which helps an entrepreneur and a great potential startups by training, guidance, and so on. And sometimes they also provide finance or provide the platform for some other investors to come and finance. Again, some accelerators will try to do it for free, and some accelerators try to charge a fees or equity and so on.
right? Depending upon what you are trying to choose and whom you are trying to work with. Then venture capitalist, again, can be, some of the venture capitalist firms can also provide you the seed funds for the highest potential, again, through the equity, exchange of the equities. So the most important thing here is to understand the difference between the pre-seed round and the seed round, right? And then startup valuation. And we will probably start here, and then we will look at a pitch deck that is prepared for the seed round. Okay, I think that's the way that I wanted to kind of connect it. Now, startup valuation at the time of seed stage. I told you the valuation, right? There are different factors that are considered to value. Okay, this company is worth X amount of time, X amount of money. So the way that startup valuation is done during the seed stage is same as the pre-seed stage. And some startups, get their value 2 million to $20 million. But now how can they value their startups as $2 million to $20 million? There should be some rule followed, right? I mean, to ensure that this company is worth for $2 million or $20 million. And this goes through a lot of scrutiny, right? I mean, a lot of valuations, a lot of people's experience, and there is a clinical way of evaluating the valuation of a startup company. So there's a number of factors they consider while doing that. One is the traction. I mean, how many customers that you have? I mean, what kind of what kind of an interest a customer has? And do you have any quantitative numbers, like how many customers have bought your product or willing to buy your product, or how much money they wanted to really spend on the value that they are getting out of your product? Customer traction is very, very important. They look at that as one of the parameters. Reputation. I mean, like there are some founders, right? In the past, they started their company and they, exited, and they helped a lot of people to make money, investors to make money, and they have done many startups, and they have exited many startups. So, the investment community always look at these entrepreneurs. If the entrepreneurs has not done any startup, okay, the reputation is less, right? If an entrepreneur has done multiple startups, has done multiple exits, and have helped multiple investors to make more and more money, next time, whether he has an idea or he does not have an idea, if he says, I'm going to start a company, and all the investors will come and put money on him. Because they know whatever the idea that he will choose which will help the company to grow, and eventually all the investors will get their return back. So the reputations will play a very, very important role, and based on that reputation also, right, your valuation is done. There are certain clinical formula to do that. And depending upon your product maturity, whether your product is at the prototype level, whether it is at an MVP level, right? And is it really positioned for the future success? So looking at all these also as a parameters, the valuation of a company is done. And most important thing, pre-valuation revenue. If you already are making some revenue, the investors, it's easy for them, right, to give you more money, because they know you're already making money. There is a value, there is a proof that customer is paying you money, and they see the value, and it's that you wanted money to really help the company to grow and acquire more customers. So it's pretty easy and straightforward for the investors. Okay, I give him more money, he gets more customers, he makes more money, and the company grows and the valuation increases. And when we exit and somebody else acquires him, we all get more money. It's a very happy stage for an investor to be to invest money with you or in your startup. And finally, the industry. So very, very important, right? Sometimes some industries, like for example, if you start a startup now for an airline industry, nobody's going to invest you, right? Because of the COVID, the hotel industry, airline industries, and things like that, right? There's a lot of challenges there. But when the COVID kind of starts to ramp down, everybody all of a sudden going to take vacation and go and have fun and time, fun time and travel around. So it's going to boom, right? So I mean, you need to find the right industry, which industry is growing, and you can actually look at all those metrics, right? You can go and search. I'm sure that if you have a bank, right, if you are investing RRSP, your personal investor will basically help you to understand which industry, if you invest on which company, if you invest, you will gain money, you will lose money, or you will slowly gain money, and you will rapidly gain money or you will rapidly lose money, right? How? Because they are actually seeing all these companies, how they are performing month by month, year by year, right? And they, based on that, they do prediction. Probably they use AI nowadays. You can use AI to predict and then invest money at the right place so that your returns are right. So likewise, the industry and the company and all these different factors plays a very, very important role when you are trying to create a valuation of your company. And it's a clinical way of doing it. And there are groups which does that. There are organizations which does that and then tells you, hey, this is your current valuation of your company. And if you wanted to sell your company today, you should sell it in this money, not obviously less. Or if you actually have a good traction, probably you can sell it 3 times, 5 times, for 6 times, 8 times of the money, the valuation of the company, right? So again, that depends on the market and how the previous companies in the similar industries have exited, how much money they made, 1 times or 1.5 times or 3 times. So number of things, number of factors are involved. Okay, so let me stop here, right, for today from the point of view of theory. And let's quickly look, we have like 15 minutes. Let's quickly look at one pitch deck and try to connect this pre-seed and seed to that pitch deck and try to understand what kind of an information actually are provided by the company in the pitch deck for pre-seed and seed. Now you'll be able to really relate to that, right? You know that in pre-seed and seed, you are going to have a hard time to raise the money, and most of the time you got to put your own money from your pocket. And in some cases, you might get money from investors like angels, venture capitalists, and if you're a pre-seed, incubators and seed accelerators, and you can get a loan and you can do a convertible note, a number of things that you can try to raise the money, crowdfunding and so on, right? So that you have more money and you can do what you wanted to do. Now, with this understanding, let's go back. Guys, are you able to follow me? Is it an interesting topic? You guys are enjoying it?
Yeah, yes,
Yes.
Awesome. Good. I'm happy to hear that, right? This is not everything, but these are the basics. And our goal of this program is to tell you the basics, right? The advanced things are always a lot, as you know. Okay, but with this basics and the pointers that I'm giving and the links that I'm giving, if you continue your journey, you will become really very, very successful in this space. Now, having said that, let's find a pitch deck that raised money during the seed round. Let's look at it from the bottom up. Okay, raised 600K in 2012 from Accelerator. So Accelerator, he raised 600K from the Accelerator as a seed money. Okay, now you know what the Accelerator is. Now you know what the seed money is, right? So that's what I wanted to really make sure that we do this here. Let's go back to okay. Yeah, so let's look at this seed. Like they have raised 3.15 million seed round. And this seed round is raised from ventures, Storm Ventures. You see, when there is lots of money, like millions and millions, right? It's actually provided by the venture capitalists, right? Because they give lots of money. Like a big firm, right? When it is smaller, like 600K, you see it's an accelerator. Let's go and find out here, right? This is 100K convertible note angel round, right? So this is, you see angel again seed round, right? See, it's only 100K, not in millions. So when you see angels here, the money is comparatively less, not in millions when you actually see the venture capitalist. Series D and all, we will, when we learn what is Series A, B, C, D, we will talk about it. We'll take these examples. This is Series A series. Okay, Dropbox. Dropbox raised 1.2 million seed round by Sequoia. Right, Sequoia probably is again a firm which is a venture capitalist firm, right? Lots of money. 150 million Series D, 6.6 million again seed round, right? Use raise seed round. Well, after many tries, Canva is incredibly simply to use online design platform. Okay, right? So this now you are able to relate to all these things. Now let's take a simple one. See, Dropbox everyone knows, right? We basically put the files in the Dropbox and we share it. So let's look at, that's interesting because most of the people, you guys know what the Dropbox is, right? So the Dropbox pitch deck. Let's see. You see, we have 10 minutes. Can we actually go through this? That's what I'm trying to understand. It's going to be pretty big, right? I want to really go through this to explain you what it is. Probably it will take a little bit more time, but let's see if it goes beyond that, we will stop it, okay? So this is the pitch deck that Dropbox used. Sorry. This is the pitch deck Dropbox used to raise the seed capital fund. That is $1.2 million. So these are all the different funding rounds that they achieved, right? To start with 2007, 15K. And then on 2007, again, they raised 1.2 million. Then they went to Series A. They raised 6 million. Series B, see here, 250 million. Series C, 350 million. And then after that, they started doing debt financing, right? 500 million, 600 million. So that will give you a kind of understanding as to how the money are raised. Every company, they keep on continuing raising funds because that's the only way. You have more funds, you can achieve more growth. Okay. 648. I wanted to really go through this step by step, and I don't want to really leave this in half, right? So let's do this. This particular pitch deck, let's go through tomorrow. And this is what I wanted to really cover. Initially, I thought I will cover the pitch deck, and then I will go and cover all the different types of investment rounds and what all the different organizations and different definitions and different things that are involved for you to kind of understand how, as an entrepreneur, you got to maneuver through to raise funds and run your company. That was my thought process, right? And then finally, I wanted to kind of wrap up with some summary around that. I kind of, when I started the session today, I kind of changed my plans that instead of doing start to finish, maybe it's better to give you the definitions and then map that back to the pitch deck and go through the pitch deck so you get a feel, and then go back to what is seed A, seed B, seed C, and then come back to the pitch deck and see some examples of seed A, B, and C pitch deck, right? So I thought that would make more relevance, and that's why I kind of started discussing with you about some of the theory. And you know what? It's actually wise to stop it here. And then in our next Friday meeting, let's go through the Dropbox pitch deck, and then we will learn about what is Series A, B, C, D rounds, right? And then we will try to see an example pitch deck that is prepared for the series rounds, right? So that way you will get a good connection of all the definitions that we learned and all the previous definitions that we learned in first couple of chapters, all coming together. You will get a good idea, right? So I'll stop here for any questions from anyone, please. Is there any questions from anyone? Did you guys learn something today? Was it interesting?
Yes, Kada. It's great seeing how startups raise finances for their project. So this is a really good one. At least it gives us more idea. If we're pursuing our projects and we want to make it big, we can go through the different series A, B, C. So it's great. Thanks, Kada, for this.
Awesome. I want to kind of give you guys, because we have like 10 minutes, I want to kind of give you guys a website, right? Crunchbase.com. Crunchbase. Right. Oh, spelling. Yes. Go here, right? Obviously, you can't. You can create an ID. There's like there are different products that you can pay money to look at a lot of different things, right? But this is another one that I wanted you guys to look at. Let me also copy this in the presentation so you guys can remember going through these things, right? Because you have access to that presentation and you can always reuse them. Okay, number one, number two, and I wanted to also help you guys to go through this. Just a minute. These are the things that I wanted to really train you guys. Okay. Now let me save this. So there's a record for you guys to always go back and refer these links. So you can discover the innovative companies and the people behind it, right? This is one of the good place for you to learn more about entrepreneurship. Say most of the time when you wanted to learn programming languages, you go and learn in Khan Academy, right? And if you wanted to learn products and product management, project management, you go to the PMP organization and so on. And you wanted to become a entrepreneur, then you go to the incubators, accelerators, and learn from there. And the Crunchbase is a place where if you want to really become an innovator, there's a lot of information that you can learn and you can subscribe to, and you can get the news, and you can understand who are all the, what kind of an investors are available, what kind of an investments are, anything. It's like a good database, right? And it also kind of stores all the different startups around the world and what kind of a funding that every year that these startups are getting, right? Startup based tracking and then overall tracking. If you look at this one here, it's quite interesting, right? This week, the database on the Crunchbase, but there are so many companies, they don't put their database or their details into the Crunchbase, but whatever the companies have put their details into the Crunchbase, because it's very important. If they put it in the Crunchbase, many other investors also see, and there's a potential more investors will come and invest. So just look at it in just this week. Just this week, get a feel of this, right? 398 funding rounds have happened. Total of 12.6 billion is being funded. So think about it, right? Just this week on Crunchbase, 211 acquisitions, companies has been sold globally. And when they acquire the company, this is the money that was given to 211 companies to acquire $39.2 billion. Right? So quite interesting. And then these are all some new startups, right? The top startups, they're trending, and you can actually go and look at them. I'll show you, right? And then it also, they also have some featured funding rounds. So the Circlo Series B, right? And this is what they raised some money. Some people, they put money, some people, then Autoleap, they did a Series A, $18 million. And who invested? Bain Capital Ventures. Then you have .com, right? Show all funding rounds. Let's click this, for example. You have a start free trial and you got to do this, right? So you can log in and you can try to explore a little bit around this, but you get the picture. What do I mean? Right? The featured acquisitions, the inflatuation is an acquiree name. Acquirer name is JP Morgan acquired this company. Let's look at the one with the money. 3D Systems acquired a company called Octon for $180 million. Kenan acquired Redland Technologies for $341 million. So there's a couple of ways that you can leverage this, right? I don't know whether I have a login or not. Long by a while back, I used it. Let me try. Okay. Let's see if I can.
What? Okay.
Try the Wavelabs email ID, Khader. I think you've changed the priority email.
No, but no, I wanted this email ID, right? Anyways, I'll try to do some experiment and see if I'm able to get some accounts and show you guys a little bit on this one. So this is another place which can actually help you guys with understanding of who are all the investors, what kind of a funding rounds, which companies got a funding round, who is acquiring whom, and what companies acquired when. A lot of good details, you will get it from there. So if you think about it as a summary, we have 3 minutes, right? So when I taught you the first chapter, what I really tried to help you is to kind of understand what are all the knowledge that you require, the basic foundational knowledge that you require to build a team and work together with the people and things like that. And then when I taught you about the second chapter, I really helped you to see through the things from the idea all the way to the launch to the post-launch. So how the product evolves. Now, the third chapter, I'm really trying to help you guys to understand if you are an owner of a company and how there are so many other owners and entrepreneurs, how they actually think and what they actually do. That's the thing, right? So the first chapter is how someone gets started with some basic attitudes and having that basic skills to do something, have a passion to do something. That's your first chapter. And second chapter is when you have the passion to do something. And the second chapter is a lot, helps you to teach. Help you to learn what all I have to do to really build things. Now the third chapter is all about learn and different types of knowledge to see, I build things, I come up with the plan, I do, but then how do I actually in practice make it work? What are all the definitions? What are all the different things that I need to really know and the knowledge that I need to really have to become an entrepreneur and continue to grow? So these are the three different journeys that I'm actually trying to help you guys to take through. And I know that in next 2 to 3 sessions, right, you will have a complete picture, at least at a very high level, and you have that presentation always, store that presentation as a reference presentation for you. It will become handy, at least to understand from the high level. Details, it's all up to you, to your innovation and your hard work to get in and learn more and more on the topic that you wanted to really learn and you wanted to succeed. But at least what I can tell you this much is that I would have laid you a solid foundation for you to become an entrepreneur. That's my goal of this particular session. And that's what I'm trying to achieve. So with that, I will stop. And I hope that you're able to connect everything together. And let's continue this conversation of going through the pitch deck for seed round in our next session. And then we will start looking at the difference between series rounds. And we will take some examples of the pitch deck of the series rounds. And then we will go from there. Meanwhile, I also know a while ago there was a sample pitch deck that was available inside tools, I think, not tools. I think it was in the archive, if I'm not, pitch deck, right? So this is also another one that we can quickly go through in our next session, right? This is one example pitch deck, some examples that I took. We can also go through this and try to kind of understand this. So let's do that next week. I think for now, for this week, I think you have learned enough and we will stop here respecting the time. You guys have a wonderful weekend. And I know this Saturday there is no session. So Gregory and everyone, you guys are free. But please remember, do not forget, I need every one of your support. Whether you understand or you don't understand, you log in and you put it on mute and you do your own work. I'm just joking, but I wanted you to really learn. I really, really need your support on 5G meetup that's coming up on September 18th. If you have not registered it, please go and register it and share it to your friends, colleagues, and bring as many people as possible into this session. This is very, very important for Testoper community and for us. And
we do everything for free, and we wanted to really do this well for the community and start a new chapter of training the individuals and upskilling them and developing them as a workforce of future on the telecom field, right? That's what we are trying to really launch in this meetup, and I'm looking forward to every one of your support to support us there. So with that, let's close the session. Any questions, anything before we say goodbye for this week?
No.
I hope it was an interesting session. You guys enjoyed, and let's talk next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Bye.
Yep. I got it.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Sada. Bye.
Bye.